In this video, we're going to show you how to start basing your model. This is part of our painting tutorial series that we're inviting everyone to join into to do our Knights of the Game Table painting challenge. If you want to learn more about the challenge, get some miniatures painted fast and easy, and even get access to the Knights of the Game Table membership for an entire month completely free, then click the link in the description of this video, sign up, and get started. Now, let's start on that base. Okay, so now we are going to go into base painting. So we actually start with the Steel Legion drab, and this is pretty straightforward. All we're going to do is just cake on some Steel Legion drab. We're going to put it on our wet palette here, and we are going to paint the base. Just fully paint the base in Steel Legion drab. Something you may notice here is if you look at that wet palette, you'll see all these different colors we've been using throughout these lessons, and they're not blended. You're not seeing some like crazy wicked palette and color combination of blending. Instead, what you're going to see is they're all separate. And that's because these are all beginner techniques. The paint comes off easier on a wet palette. It keeps the paints wet. It keeps them easier to apply to the brush. But other than that, we're not doing any like crazy wet blending type techniques for this, because this is a lesson for beginners to paint really good. And even like this is really more of like beginner to intermediate. This is that leap that beginners can take to become better. So you'll notice like we've gone through a lot of techniques, and they're just step-by-step processes, a little bit of layering, a little bit of shading, but no like ultra fine wet blending and color mixing and all this type of thing. It's because we want this to be simple for you. We want this to really make sense. And so that's why as you go through these lessons, and I mean, if you're just now joining us on this lesson, this video painting series, then go back and watch from the start, because we will take you from, grayscale all the way to where we are now, which is, painting up this amazing base. And it really, by the end of this whole series, the model looks amazing. And these are the kind of lessons we want to give people that come to us for help here at Knights of the Game Table. So this first lesson here for the base is really straightforward. We're just applying that Steel Legion drab to all of the base here, and you don't want to like over apply it. You want to have the right amount. You don't want to like cake on the paint and make it look like it's crusty and crinkly, but you also want to get enough on there to where you're filling in those white spaces, and the base has texture. So we do have that dead Necron body, and we're kind of like tiptoeing around that in terms of we don't want to get a lot of the texture paint that we're using here onto that. We have big plans for the Necron body, which you're about to see, but in the meantime, we're just worrying about getting the ground colored and making sure we get all that white taken care of. So that's probably the big thing here is we really just want to get the ground looking good and make sure everything's covered. Okay, so we finished our base, and now we are, while it's drying, we're going to add, this is like a standard detail that we practice here, and that's the black ring around the base. So we'll just grab the Abaddon Black, Abaddon Black as some like to call it, and just put a nice, tar strip around the side of the base, and it gives it that trophy look. I mean, we've spent so much time going through this lesson and learning how to paint this model, and I hope you give your models the same appreciation where you want it to look like a trophy. And that's essentially what this is it's the trophy strip. You put that black ring around it, and it really, makes it stand out from the bottom to the top. So that's a really common practice we like to do with our models here. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to dive into that Necron. With that, we're going to go back to a flashback and pull up that Warp Block Bronze and lay down that darker base, metallic base on this Necron. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to apply that Warp Block Bronze and cover up the remaining white spots. You'll notice this model is pretty much covered. There is no more white grayscale remnants except for this Necron body, which we are now getting to. We're close to the end, and it's about there. Well, the other white remnants would be the shoulder pad, which we are going to cover in depth in the next lesson with getting you a decal on there. But for this moment here, we are covering that Necron in the Warp Block Bronze, getting that nice base on there. And in the next lesson, we are going to go over brightening up that Necron, adding more details to that, and going over, you know, the base and how to add more texture and depth to the base. So we'll put that final coat of Warp Lock Bronze on for this lesson here, and just like the sword with the Necron here, just like how with the sword we went Warp Lock Bronze and brightened it up, we're going to do the same thing with this Necron. It's going to have a little bit of a different tint because it's not going to be steel or a blade. It's going to be a bronze Necrons. Okay, so we've got our base painted. We've got the bare basics down as far as the floor goes, and now we are going to apply some Cassandra Yellow. It's a shade paint from Citadel, and we are just going to cover that base in it. What this is going to do is add a new layer of texture and depth. It's gonna put more of the like sandy, grainy type of feel and look to that desert base. It's gonna go from, you know, that muddy, like wet look to more of a sandy, dry look. So that's what we're going for here, making it more of a desert base. The Blood Angels do come from the planet of Baal, which is a desert planet, and so we love to honor them with that desert looking base. So this one's pretty straightforward. You're gonna get that Cassandra Yellow, get like a standard base coating brush from Citadel or wherever. Doesn't need to be anything fancy, and just apply it on there, you know, nice and rigorously, and it'll add that layer. Now with shade paints, they can take some time to dry. So a hack here is get a blow dryer. We do it pretty often here, and you can literally just take a blow dryer to your base after applying this and get it dry within a couple minutes, as opposed to having to let it sit for, you know, an hour or two to dry, because these things can take time, especially on bases where they're just puddling and they're not, you know, dripping down. So next one, we're going to cover the Necron in depth and finish off that base.
And that concludes this lesson on how to base your models. The last thing we're going to do is add the final touches, like transfers on the shoulder pads and even brushes on the base. We're going to show you how to really spruce up your model at the final stages to make it look great. So if that sounds like something you want to learn, then go ahead and go watch the next video. But if you haven't already, I want to invite you to join our Knights of the Game Table Painting Challenge. You're almost through our painting series if you've been watching from start to finish, so you may as well just join the challenge and paint a miniature along with us. So go ahead, click the link in the description of this video. That will take you to a registry form. All you have to do is fill out that form so we know you are in the painting challenge, and then send us a picture of your model from start to finish following the techniques we show throughout this painting series. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. If you are already in the painting challenge, I will see you in the next and final video.